Hi everyone, it's Nicole. Welcome back to my channel and another STAMPtember 2024 video. Today we are going to be creating with art impressions. Now the limited edition exclusives from the companies during STAMPtember are limited, meaning once they're gone, they are gone. Here is the sweet Bday stamp set as well as coordinating dies. So amazing. I love that there are coordinating dies for most of the sets. So we are going to start by creating the background for our card. Now my goal with the STAMPtember videos is always to do a technique, style, card, something that maybe inspires you even if you don't have the product or you aren't going to pick up the limited edition exclusive. I want to be able to hopefully inspire you for all of your card making. We are using this new fresh roast stencil, part of the STAMPtember Simon Says Stamp release. This is not a limited edition exclusive, and I am inking that with the Mocha ink on some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. Because the cute Art Impressions Sweet Bday stamp set has these two ladies with their donuts and lattes, I thought this was the perfect background. Over the top of this wonderful fresh roast stenciled background, we are going to stamp the new Just Because photopolymer sentiment, or pardon me, text stamp. You guys know, if you've been here a while, that text backgrounds are one of my favorite things, and I absolutely adore this new Just Because stamp set. Even though this stamp set is called Sweet Bday, I am going to choose a greeting that's a little bit more everyday, if you will, more friendship centered, and I thought that Just Because worked really well here. I'm stamping that with white pigment ink over the fresh roast stenciling for a beautiful subtle effect. Next, we are going to take these nested dome frame dies from Simon Says Stamp, and I've die cut it twice, once from VELLUM and once from some ground coffee cardstock. I've also die cut this Sterling Frames embossing folder and die from some of the ground coffee, I think, cardstock, and we are going to emboss the frame out of cardstock using the embossing folder. I like to die cut it first, place that label right into that slot, and then run it through my die cut machine to emboss it and give it the fabulous texture. The inside part of that oval that I'm using for my card today is created or die cut from VELLUM. We're going to be stamping on that with some white, cotton white StazOn ink to really make a fun greeting that overlays our two ladies. Now, Art Impressions is one of my favorite STAMPtember releases each month. I love the fun, clever way that these are illustrated, and this is going to be super fun for us to color and add to our design. I am stamping my sentiment with that cotton white StazOn ink here. First, I'm tapping it, just giving that a good stamp. And look at that, you're fabulous, which I think works anytime for a great friend card. Then on some Neenah 110-pound weight solar white cardstock, I am stamping the ladies from the Art Impressions Sweet Birthday with some Hero Arts intensified black ink, and we are going to color these in with Olo markers. I will be showing those Olo markers on the screen today, hopefully to help you. They will be listed down in the description below the video here on YouTube as well. So starting with our first lady, I'm going to do the skin for both, and then we will move on to all of the fun color on our card. You may notice I stuck with reds and pinks when you saw that finished card example at the beginning of the video. I really thought they set off beautifully against the brown neutral background. I always tend to like to start with the skin, as it feels like we have a nice base to begin with this way and a nice starting place. So I'm going to continue to color in. And I love the pink and red combos. We're going to move on to that here in just a minute. But like I said, let's work on this first. Now, I did speed up the coloring today, but I did try to keep it somewhat not super sped up fast. So if you enjoy watching the coloring, you can do so and hopefully make note of some of those Olo marker colors. You can use any markers or coloring medium that you like to use. I am really enjoying Olos at the moment, so that is what I am using today. With Olos, I like to kind of lay down my darkest color first, and then I'm generally going in with my lighter shade and blending out. For most of the areas in this image, I am using only 2 shades per color family, maybe 3 in a couple of instances like the tops on the women or the pants. But for most of the smaller areas, I find that I can get pretty good results with just 2 shades. I like to use this round clear Lazy Susan carousel from Target. I will link that down below in the description. It'll be kind of in its own little box, not in the regular description if you're interested at all. It's a great Lazy Susan. It's $15, and one of them holds all of my markers because I have my markers connected end to end. That is one of the great things about Olos, is you can have 2 shades on basically what is kind of quote unquote one marker. So I usually have blending shades twisted together. There's a connector ring where you can connect them. I tend to not use chisel tips, so I got the brush tips of these markers instead of a chisel and brush, and that is really how I use them. It takes up a little less room that way, which is always a great thing. Now, I struggled on this cheek and I did leave it in. I found when I laid down that red color for her cheek, it was like wicking away the darker color. So I do feel like even going back over it with her skin color, you can still see a touch of that pink in the cheek, especially in real life. But I definitely didn't want to leave it super bright. It just did not work very well. So don't be afraid to go over it if you need to. We're moving on to the top. You'll notice I did do like a little blue violet for her eyelids. I did some pinks for the cheeks and some reds for their tongues. I just always, again, I know I've said this many times, but I think the Art Impressions images are so fun to color. I think they're always kind of funny and just very unique. And I hope you guys love it as well. And you can keep this idea in mind, hopefully, for any of the Art Impressions collection of stamps that you might like. I again went in with my darkest color first, and then I am blending out with a mid-tone, and I will finish with the lightest shade for this color family. Just trying to determine where all I want to lay down this color, trying to be kind of careful. I don't want to oversaturate it too much. You know, reds have a tendency to maybe want to bleed at times, so I am trying to be a little careful with that, and then going in and doing an all over great blend with my lightest shade. Oh, I just love that red. I think it pops so great on here. Okay, now we're going to take some red violets. So this is going to be like our bright, happy pinks. Oh, first I forgot. I did some dark grays for the lids of their coffee cups. They've got, you know, their lattes here. And then we're going to do the bright, happy pinks. This is a little cool gray 5 and a cool gray 7. And now our red violets. Again, starting with our darkest color, which in this case will be red violet 0.6. I'm going to go in and lay down the darkest color first. Now her button-down shirt is open just a little bit, so underneath I'm actually going to use the 2 lightest shades from this trio to make her top like a little bit lighter than the top, her button-down top. And that was just a choice. I didn't really want to pull in a whole bunch of other colors. You're going to notice that when I color in the frosting for the donuts as well. I don't want to bring or introduce a bunch of new colors to this design. I want to keep it pretty simple with reds and pinks with some nice neutrals. So again, dark color, mid-tone color, making sure to, and going around those buttons in retrospect, it doesn't matter. I'm going to cover those up with gems. And then going in with my lightest shade, which definitely has the most of that 0 marker, which is the like the blender marker would be. And so you can see it's really light. You might have to work a little bit to get that the way you want it to look. And I went in with the light color and just colored in that little peak of the top underneath. Next, we're going to do hair. I'm using 4.7 and 4.8 OR markers for her hair with a feathering motion. Hair is one of those things that you want to give it a little bit of texture. You don't want to overly blend like you saw me doing for their tops. You're doing more of a flicking or feathering motion with your marker. I like to go in again with the dark first, then the light, and if needed, go back with my darkest shade and add in. If I've overly blended it out, which let's be honest, I tend to do, I will usually go in and feather in just a few more additional dark pieces. And look at that. Look at her come to life. I love it so much. I also missed a little spot on her neck, so there I fixed it. And I love that she has this big hoop earring. I think we'll color it in with a pink or a red, but we'll get there in a minute. We're going to move to the hair on the second lady using a combination of 7.7, 7.3, and 7.1. We're using 7.7 sparingly. Now, the thing about this color combination is it's going to be used a lot. I used it for her kind of dark, dirty blonde hair, I guess I would call it. We're going to use it for their khaki pants, and we're going to use it for our light donut color. I want to do a mix of like, you know, white cake donuts and chocolate donuts is kind of what I'm imagining, or, you know, white raised donuts, whatever the case may be. So I am going to do the hair first, and I sort of got a little bit of that into her face. So I went back with her skin color marker. I think that was 7.2, and just kind of tried to clean that up along the side of her face where I got a little aggressive with the hair color. And then we are going to use quite a bit more of the 7.7 for the pants. Now, not a lot though. I say more, but that's just for all these shading areas. We want to go in, add in some nice dark shading areas where it naturally would be a little bit darker. And then we'll go with our mid-tone color, and this one is going to be a lot more color. We're going to blend out that dark color. We're going to pull down the khaki color of the clothing, and then the lightest color will just be that lightest little highlight. So you'll notice, do the legs of both of the pants here till we get it the way we want. And then I did just go ahead and grab my lightest marker, and I love it. I think this is going to blend in with the card background beautifully. So let's do the same thing for the other pair of pants. I just kept it simple here, and I gave them both these khaki pants. With Olos, I do keep the caps off my markers while I'm working. So you might notice all around my desk, I've got markers everywhere. That just makes it really easy to pick them up and go. You don't have to cap and recap them every time. In fact, it's suggested that you don't, as that motion of pulling the cap off kind of suctions the ink to the tip of your marker. And so you don't want to be doing that over and over for just the teeny tiny areas. I'm going to go in and try to do all of my white donuts or vanilla cake donuts, I don't know what you want to call them, all at one time. I don't know my donut terminology that well. And then we're going to do the rest in a darker color combination. I do, whenever possible, try to color in everything that I think I want to color with a certain color combo, just so that I'm not switching back and forth. Sometimes it's inevitable and it just happens, but I do try my best. For the other color combination, we're using 4.6 and I think 4.3. Might be wrong about that. It might be 4.5. no, 4.3. And that's going to be more of our chocolate donut. So it's still not super dark. And that's because I want to leave my darkest color for the chocolate frosting on some of these donuts. But I think this gives a wonderful contrast to the lighter shades that we've used. We're going to start adding our frosting colors. And I, again, just want to go back to some of the pinks and reds, but also pull in some of that chocolate color, as I was just mentioning, for some of them. But I do think this gives us another fantastic opportunity to add color. There's a lot of neutral. Our background features a lot of neutral. The pants feature a lot of neutral. The big pops of color on this card are the tops that the women are wearing and the donuts, the frosting on the donuts. So this is a great opportunity to just kind of reinforce and pull some more of that color in. You can see that I added some color to their earrings as well with pinks, just to kind of finish that all off. Super cute. The coordinating die for this set, we're going to talk real quick. We still have a little coloring left to do. It's a lot of the detail coloring at this point. 4.6 and 4.7, or maybe it's 4.8 and 4.7, are the colors for the dark chocolate frosting. But the die that coordinates and die cuts this shape, it is fantastic because it die cuts very close to the image, and it's going to die cut out around them, meaning we're not going to be left with super huge sections of white, like between their legs and things like that. It gives a much cleaner, nicer look, and I really appreciate that about the coordinating die that Simon Says Stamp is offering us for this Art Impressions stamp set. We're doing that dark chocolate color for their little flats that they're wearing as well. I didn't worry too much about going too crazy with that. And then, of course, still filling in some dark chocolate here. Okay, we need to add in some rest of our pinks and reds. We're going to do some red violets with the 3 shades that I used for the gal on the left's top. It gives me a couple of different color combinations for the donuts. So the one over on the right side was more of the lighter shades, and now I'm doing a little bit of the dark color combo, so more of the dark and the mid-tone. The one over on the right was the mid-tone and the light. And by doing that, it gives us a lot of different options. I did pull in some of those pinks for the straws that the gals have out of their iced coffee cups, I guess, maybe is what I'm imagining that, or a cold brew, something of that nature. And then again, this is going to be mid-tone and light for some of the frosting to give it the lightest shades. That gives us a dark pink, a light pink, and a red, and a chocolate. So 4 different donut tops here. I think it gives us a beautiful variety without being over the top. The little sprinkles on some of the donuts, I just went in with maybe a red or the darkest red violet color. For the coffee cups themselves, I want them to retain that look of being white, but just have a tiny bit of shading. I used Cool Gray 0 and 1 for those. And now we're going to add in some of our red color to finish up those remaining 2 frosting colors. Then I am going to die cut the image, and we're ready to pull it all together. Oh, I love it. Oh, the plate. The plate that she's holding the donuts on, and I just love that tipping stack of donuts. I decided to go in with my darkest cool grays, like a Cool Gray 9, or pardon me, a Cool Gray 7 and 5 for that. Very basic, same color combination as the top of the coffee cups. Now there is an individual stack of with a candle in it. So if you want to make this more of a birthday design, I love that you can do that as well. So here is our background, our nested domed frame, our image from the Sweet Bday stamp set, and our sterling label with the little insert. Here's how it's kind of all going to go together. Oh, I love it. I think it's going to be so much fun. Let's go ahead and start with our frame. So I am going to glue the frame itself to that stenciled and stamped background using a little thin line of glue on the back of my frame and center it right in the background. Now the great thing about using vellum for the insert of the nested arch frame here is that we still can see through to our stenciling and stamping. It just mutes it a little bit. I love that we're not losing a lot of that. Now before we put any glue on the vellum, I did put some foam squares on the back of the girls, and by doing that I can place that down and then lift it up, and I can hide my glue back behind them, and that is going to hide the adhesive. So just like that, we have our inlay all ready to go. Next, I'm going to take a crocodile hole punch and I'm going to punch a small hole in each side of my label. That's so that I can thread some twine around this, tie it into a little bow. We're going to use this red. And what I'm going to do is I want to take one of the ends of this Lawn Fawn twine and kind of loop it through and then pull it back behind the entire panel. And then we're going to bring it around to the other side and bring one of the ends through and then tie it into a little bow to secure. This is going to make it so that there isn't any twine showing kind of over the top of those ladies' legs or back behind the sentiment. I wanted to avoid that, so this was how I went about attaching the frame so that I could still have that cute little label right there, but still maintain the integrity of the image. Once we have the little bow the way we want, I'm going to snip off those ends. I want to figure out exactly where I want that label, and then I will put a little glue back behind it to secure. I will take my greeting then, and I'm going to hide my adhesive back behind the embossed areas, or pardon me, it's not embossed, the white stamped areas of our sentiment. You could use a Xyron sticker maker or something of that sort if you wanted to at this point as well. So, but I'm just going to hide it back behind the actual stamping. I think it will be totally fine. So final details for this card. Now we want to add some gemstone buttons to the pink top that our sweet lady is wearing. And of course, my favorite little heart embellishment. So first I took these little candy apple hearts. We're going to put a little stack of them up here like so. And then we're going to take some peach blush Spellbinders gems and use those to adorn the buttons on her shirt. So that's what I was saying earlier, that I was really careful coloring around those buttons, thinking I'd color them in, but I think these little sparkly peach blush buttons are the perfect finishing touch for her top. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this limited edition exclusive from Art Impressions called Sweet Bday. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me today for another paper crafting tutorial. I love being able to share with this incredible community of crafters. I want to give a huge shout out and special thank you to my amazing Patreon members. If you're interested in joining Patreon, please click the link in the description underneath the video here on YouTube. Patreon is a private community where you can support more of what I do. There is exclusive content, information, and behind-the-scenes content. Top-tier members will receive a handmade birthday card during your birthday month, access to D-Stash, and monthly exclusive lives, plus so much more. We would love to have you join our growing community. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to always be notified when I have a new video. Thanks for watching!